is sensational for Cincinnati. Mitch Hildebrand, the hero, and the underdogs have prevailed once again.
I would like to present the USL Regular Season Championship to FC Cincinnati. Congratulations to the players, the staff, and most importantly, the fans on a record-breaking season. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for your regular season champions, FC Cincinnati.
In a foot race, Cincinnati plays this across. Vasquez with the finish. Brandon Vasquez gives Cincinnati the 2-1 lead. A late breakdown by Red Bull.
Well, Dylan Nealis gets beaten, and nobody covers the streaking run. Unbelievable.
Montreal got under that. Oh! What a goal for FC Cincinnati! You couldn't dream that any better. Goal of the tournament. Maybe the history of the tournament. Alvaro Barreal makes it 2-0.
Acosta beats one man one-on-one and another. This is still Lucho Acosta continuing on. Acosta! Oh my goodness! A play worthy of a perfect 10 by Cincinnati's number 10.
Unbelievable. He's like a kid in a playground. He just picked the ball up and said, okay, you know what? I'm going to pick it up at the halfway line and I'm going to go all the way on my own. And you're thinking to yourself, release the ball now, release the ball now. He decides, no, I'm not having that. I'm going to have the goal instead. And I'm probably going to get the goal of the season as well.
Valerian looks to deliver, flick towards the far post, and it's off the line! What a save! That's a match-winning save.
He thinks that he's found the equalizer yet again, but Celentano just stays big and makes a massive save.
They have done it. Cincinnati, your 2023 Supporters Shield winners. A first trophy in their MLS era, and now they celebrate. Top of the Supporters Shield race since...
The Flying Lion says,
boys, hell is real.
2023 Supporter Shield champs.
So glad that I can be back with people who know that it's a Flying Lion.
It shows how much we all love this club.
Yeah, just a fan of the sport, you know.
It's definitely tougher to be an Acash player than it is a pro.
In this club, you don't play just for the club. You play for the ball.
Swap, card of the week, trivia question of the week.
Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of the Flying Lion podcast. Thanks for joining us on this Monday night or Tuesday if you're listening, an audio podcast. But thanks again for joining us live. We're here talking about a big win for FC Cincinnati against the New York Red Bulls. Away match, Sam, that was a huge moment in this season. You know, not exactly the finish that we wanted to see in some regards because Philly does end up winning the Supporters Shield. But FC Cincinnati walks away with a win in this one. We'll recap this one and a little bit of some new news coming on in the second half here. FC Cincinnati 2 winning again, and then we'll preview our final match at home. But Sam, how are we doing tonight?
Yeah, doing good. Obviously, like you said, script's already been written for the regular season for the MLS. So FC Cincinnati coming into this last match, you know, we'll talk about kind of what we need to look forward to as far as in the playoffs. Health concerns once again kind of go into the playoffs, but yeah, I mean, you feel good about some guys that stepped up that you normally, you know, wouldn't have thought. So happy to talk about those guys and shine a light on those guys here in the podcast. But yeah, it kind of sucks. I know there are multiple chances right this season, Ryan, for FC Cincinnati to kind of clinch the Supporters Shield, and unfortunately we didn't take it. Right. It was ours for the taking there for a while. We had, you know, the points to do it, and just couldn't put matches in a row. Right. It was almost like every other match for us.
Yeah, no, good point. I think we'll get into this, you know, maybe after we cover this match specifically and kind of what this means, you know, for the rest of the season. But this match day that we had at the New York Red Bulls, a 1-0 victory, which puts us now at 19-5-9. A win would cap, again, tied for the most road wins we've ever had in a season, which was actually last year. So identical record, end up winning this one. 11th win on the road, which is wild that we do better, again, on the road than we do at home. But for whatever reason, that seems to be working for these boys. But the 20th all-time meeting between FC Cincinnati and New York Red Bulls. No, for everyone listening, it's not the Columbus Crew, it's the Red Bulls. This is kind of like this underlying rivalry we've had with them. I think if people wanted to rank that, go back to a previous episode where we chatted about that. But 20th meeting all time, against this team, felt like a little bit different in this one. Red Bulls, for some background, had just been knocked out of the playoffs for the first time in 15 years. So they had consistently, been in and had done well. So a little bit different for them coming into this one. Sam, what'd you see for our lineup?
Yeah, so the lineup coming into it, you had Evan Louro, Engel, Hadebe in the back. We'll talk a little bit about that. Miles is the captain in this one. Albus Powell in the back for this one as well. And then you have Echenike, Giddy, Pavel Buka, Evander, Brenner, and Denkey. So similar, just up top and in the middle there. But yeah, Ryan, Hadebe and Powell are the ones that stick out to you on that lineup. And this is Hadebe's first start in MLS play since July 19th. I believe he had a start in there at some point, probably for Leagues Cup.
Yeah.
But that was, July 19th, last time he started in MLS. So it's been a while. And then obviously Powell gets the nod. So that's obviously, going to be an interesting chemistry wise, right, for the back line, having those two next to Miles.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And for relevance, if we had looked at where Matt Miazga was coming off of his injury, obviously he is solidified, number one or number two, center back. Unfortunately, before this match, we hear that he had a setback on Thursday during training that puts him out at least a minimum of another 3 to 4 weeks, which is a huge blow to the squad. Is this the last time that we see him in orange and blue? I've seen that floating around different places as well. So it's unfortunate to hear. We need Matt healthy. You've seen over the last several years what that looks like when, for whatever reason, Matt is not available. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, I was very intrigued that in a game where you had to win at the moment, to maybe get a chance for Supporter Shield, you go with Teenage Hadebe, Miles Robinson, and Albus Powell, which was just very interesting. No Nick Hagelin in the starting lineup. That was a little bit of a surprise for me. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe had a knock and that's why he got subbed in late. But yeah, it otherwise was, what we had come to expect with Ender there. The other thing, I would say, my opinion, was Engel, seeing him starting out on the left wing back spot instead of Orishano. Unfortunately, late on in the match, we kind of see maybe why that was the case, because apparently Orishano was dealing with some hamstring issues to begin with. So that's unfortunate, but it was interesting. No Dado on the bench as well. So Flores, is back in the 18 for the first time in a few weeks. We come to find out, I guess, on Sunday, Dado was playing with the FCC2 team. So maybe that's the push that they needed, for their playoff run. But yeah, nonetheless, a little bit interesting in seeing that lineup. But again, the boys end up finding the way. The first 10 minutes of the match, Sam, I felt like we're a little bit testing, not really anything that too much to write home about. But the 12th minute, we just have the best solo goal that you'll see, like I had tweeted out, on that day. It was unbelievable.
No, yeah, season after season, FC Cincinnati players find a way to create their own, solo goal, right? Like we saw 2 years ago with Lucho and his solo goal. You get Orishano with his shots from, halfway, right? Like these guys kind of just figure out how to do it on their own as the season goes along. And Denkey does this one right. He controls the ball. That first touch was something that everybody kept talking about after he scored the goal. Being able to turn and just sprint off that first touch, very crucial. And then obviously Ender was wide open on the right side, but Denkey decides to pull it, and it's just too fast, too much pace on the ball for the keeper to even get a hand on it. It wasn't like too well of a place shot, but once again, a shot that has too much pace on it, you're not going to stop it. So obviously, I think the biggest thing, right, was the shot, the goal. But Ryan, the celebration was even better. He tucks his shirt in for the celebration because this man likes to take off his shirt and get yellow cards for celebrations.
Yeah, so he was sitting at, 4 at the time, and I think at least 3 of the 4, were from he scores his unbelievable goals. He takes off his shirt. Like, that's become his signature thing. Sam, he needs to find a new signature celebration because if he's going to be out matches, that's not acceptable. So, obviously, cool moment. Denkey just with an unbelievable turn, like Sam said. It's funny to me that Brenner gets the assist in this one because, he plays it to him, but Denkey does, like, all of the work, from half field on, cuts the guy onto his right foot. They give him space, which, I don't blame him. Like, we haven't really seen Denkey hit a shot like this. Maybe the only one was the Toronto match, but it was on his left foot where he cut in. But he rips this one. It was a no-doubter. The guy is kind of in form right now. 2 goals, 2 matches. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But we go up 1-0. And early on in the match, Sam, if there's one stat to kind of point at, we love stats if you guys have listened to us before. We love a lead. Like, I think we've had 17 different games now where we've taken the lead. I think we've only tied like once or twice, out of those matches. We've won the rest. So it tells you that this team likes to go up. And when they do, they like to keep that lead and find a way to win most of the time. Last week, obviously, a little bit of the exception. But that's the key for us. So in this moment, it marked his 17th goal in all competitions, 15th in MLS play. I'm still riding the train that he's going to get 3 more and get over 20. If I had to put that bet at the beginning of the season, that would be earning me a little bit of money right now. But yeah, we go up 1-0. You can't be mad about that, Sam. From there, the whole rest of the match was not as exciting.
Very lackluster the rest of the match. In the rest of the first half, I think Red Bulls just has the best attack the rest of the first half. They kind of have a shot that gets blocked by an Engel header. So clears it off the line, which is nice. Seemed to be a theme the rest of the game too. But another chance for FC Cincinnati in the second half, starting out in the second half. We talked about last week coming out of the half and wanting to get a good start, right? Every single time in any game, right? Doesn't matter if you're up a goal, up 2, down, like you want to start off the second half pretty well. And FC Cincinnati did that. Unfortunately, Engel and Brenner just aren't on the same page on this one. He plays it across when he probably should have shot the ball, but if he was going to play it across, he probably should have played it a little bit further back in the 6 or in the 18. So yeah, just bad communication there. But Ryan, what did you see the rest of the match?
Well, I was going to real quick kind of point on that moment, because to me, that's the biggest chance that we had for the rest of the game. And it comes in the 52nd minute. We have the lead.
So you got 40 minutes of nothing.
Yeah. Well, and if you think about it, Sam, like New York is not playing for anything, so maybe are they a little bit more free in the way that they can play? Yeah. Like you could definitely, contend that. But at the same point, like we're fighting potentially at the time for a trophy. And you see a team that's a little bit lackluster in the attack, and we'll kind of get to that here in a bit. But in this moment, you see a little bit more of the press off of the goal kick. That was the strategy. You could see that Hadebe wins the ball. Engel gets it, plays a 1-2. His touch carries him a little bit too far out wide, and he's stuck between a shot and a cross, which I think in this moment is a little bit of a product of him, being stuck in that center back role for the last several months. He really hasn't been playing a lot of wing back. He gets put in this advanced spot. Is he shooting it? Is he crossing it? It's a tough moment there. And, it could have cost us ultimately if New York scores a goal and ties it, but they don't. So lucky for us, we bunker in, man. Noonan ball at its finest. Like Sam said, the rest of the match. Louro stood on his head again. That was, nice to see. But like Sam mentioned, tons of block shots. We had one with Engel in the first half. We had one with Giddy, in the 68th minute, I believe. A ball's kind of bouncing around the box. Miles fails to clear it. It's kind of reminiscent of one I think we had seen in the Philly match, honestly. Mm-hmm. They luckily, hit it low. Giddy hits it, over the bar. But it could have easily been, 1-1 on that chance. Late on in the match as well, 83rd minute, 2 chances off the post. So, I think Louro goes over and kisses the post, for that. We just had to be better, man. Like down the stretch, I wanted to ask you, because I had been texting you about this. is the lack of subbing at the end of the match an issue, Sam? Like we've kind of seen a little bit of this trend. Like, was it not having bodies that he trusted, or I would say around the 65th, 70th minute, we could have used some subs in the back line. We were getting kind of pounded back there.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, the past couple of games, the subbing you and I have talked about has been kind of lackluster, right? And in the moments that we sub, it's like, why now? Why this guy when we could have brought on somebody else? Yeah, I don't know. But when you're talking about all of the blocks, Ryan, once again, we love stats and analytics. In this match, we had 7 blocks to Red Bull's 1. That's how many times we were fighting for our lives trying to clear things off the line.
That's wild. Yeah,
almost double digit blocks.
At some point, Sam, I was wondering, like, are we the team that's attacking and like wanting to get a better seed in the playoff, or are we the team that's out? Like New York had nothing really to play for. I think the comments that Pat has after the game are a little bit telling. He says last match I kind of got in the way of the players seeing the result out. This time I tried to stay off of it a little bit and let the players figure it out. But dude, it could have easily been 2-3-1, and then we're fighting for goals. Like, I just feel like you have to kind of read the situation a little bit better. It's obviously so easy for
read the room. Read the room.
But like, if Nick Hagglund's on the bench, then he should be able to play.
Yeah.
If you need another center back that comes in, you don't use Flores, but I just felt like there was moments where our back line was tested and they kept putting in, balls from the width. That's been a continuing issue for us. Get pressure outside, step on the ball, find your guy in the middle and clear it out. And again, luckily, blocks were good for us. Recoveries were outstanding for us in this match, and you end up getting a clean sheet. But we'll kind of touch on this in a minute, Sam. Is this a dangerous trend, for the boys going into the playoffs? But for all those stat junkies out there and impressions, second in the East right now, officially lost out on Supporter Shield. Still have a chance. I think the highest we can go, obviously now is second, but the lowest we can drop is to third. I don't think that we can finish fourth. So that's kind of interesting going into this last match, and we'll talk about that. But Denkey also scored, Sam, first game of the season at home. 1-0 victory for FCC over New York Red Bulls. Identical scoreline, identical goal scorer. Does Denkey just love playing New York, or what's the deal?
I guess so. I thought that was hilarious that, once again, Kévin Denkey is the difference in this match. And that was the very first match of the season. So very fitting that it's, almost the last match, right? Not quite, but yeah, he finds the score sheet, I guess, against, New York Red Bulls, and hopefully it continues for years to come. But like we said at the beginning, FC Cincinnati's 11 road wins matched MLS post shootout era record for road wins in a season, tying our previous record in 2024, as well as Inter Miami's in 2024 and CF Montreal in 2022. So pretty solid once again on the road. If we would have been a little bit better at home, maybe Supporter Shield's in our hands rather than, Philly. But happy that we're able to do stuff like that, because winning on the road in the MLS is very tough, especially when now the schedules are, you're playing a lot more West Coast teams, and sure, FC Cincinnati weren't on, didn't have a home match for the whole month of June, right? So very impressive stretch from them.
Sam, do you think, I was just going to say real quick, like for me too, you have all of this different personnel that comes in this season versus last season. And yeah, you could say, well, back-to-back years, same exact record on the road. Like, oh, it's got to be that the players are used to that. Well, the turnover is there. So I think the coaches are preparing them really well to succeed on the road. It has to be a lot of the coaching in that standpoint. But even some of the remaining players to say, hey, this is the standard. It's just very interesting with kind of what we see, and why have we not been good at home as much? Like, that's also kind of mind-boggling too, compared to 2023, like where we set the league with 13 wins at home. So I just thought that was interesting, that hey, different personnel but very similar results.
Yeah, I don't know, the home record is always interesting, right? Season by season it seems like something's different. Last season it was remarkable this season, not so much. But in this one, FC Cincinnati, Ryan, once again, just another stat of like, holy crap, this is crazy. Earned their first clean sheet since July 26th against Inter Miami. Absolutely wild that, that was the last time that we had a clean sheet. And this is the first career clean sheet for Mr. Evan Louro against his former squad. So very cool to see both of those stats, one better than the other. But what are your take on that?
Yeah, shout out Evan. I know for a while, like the boys have been really trying to get him the result and the clean sheet. So didn't give up a goal. Again, like for the first time in like 2 months, which is insane. We just love giving up goals, apparently, which again is not sustainable for the playoffs. So hopefully this is a better trend. But yeah, shout out to Evan. Again, he grew up in the New York Red Bulls Academy, had gone his way, through the USL a little bit too. But yeah, I'm really happy for him. This kind of creates a little bit of is there a goalkeeping, battle going on here too, just with the way that Louro's been able to keep us in these matches, which is a good problem to have. You really love to have that backup that's pushing their first guy, and maybe that sparks something for him too. But Denkey earns a spot on the bench for team of the match day. I don't think that he's really been highlighted as much, but it's kind of incredible, Sam. This was his 8th game-winning goal of the season, which I think tops the team, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, gotta be. Yeah.
I think Evander, obviously is up there as well. Maybe he's got some assists that kind of boost up his numbers, but 8th game-winning goal of the season for Denkey. Clutch player. I mean, he's been doing some good things for us. Obviously, early on in the match, you didn't want that to be the only goal, but that's okay. It ends up being the goal winner, or the game winner, I should say. Some analytics as we talked about it here, and trends as we look at it. So passes into the final third, Sam. This one is fascinating. Red Bulls had 64, where FC Cincinnati had 14. Passes into in the final third, 147-25. So we were bunkered deep. And then passes into the opponent's box, 18-4. Red Bulls to FC Cincinnati. Like, again, which team was leading? Like, which team this is Pat Neenan ball to a T right here.
Yeah, so shout out to MLS Analytics, the Twitter page that put this together. Yeah, there's a lot of lines on the graphic that they posted, and not a lot of lines for FC Cincinnati, like Ryan had just said. But that's crazy. Obviously, the passes in the final third, 147-25. I know all year we were talking about who's going to be the guy to put balls in the box and be able to, just create chances from the width, right? Because a lot of times we hadn't kind of seen great buildup in between the lines, through our center mids and up to the forward. So,
Sam, this is a problem. I think it's hero ball. Like, if you really want to look at it, like, is it the same sort of thing, like, as we've seen? Like, what's the collective game plan? Building through the forwards, creating up there. Like, you see, like, we could post this graphic to kind of show you guys, like, there's zero creativity up in that front area, and this graphic kind of displays it well. So it's sad to see that.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we got the result, but it's just like, what's the plan here?
No, yeah. And on top of that one, we'll go into storylines, Ryan. Some other concerns is the defensive concerns, right? We're talking about 3 guys now that, we don't really know what's going on. One of them hopefully is coming back, and we'll see next game. But starting with Matt Miazga, could be out for another 3 or 4 weeks, like we said at the beginning of the episode, which may force FC Cincinnati to adjust their defensive structure heading into the playoffs. Not something you want. You want some consistency heading into the playoffs. Some of those depth pieces like Hadebe, like Hagelin, guys that usually are rotation guys, could be tested a little bit more here in the playoffs. And then the guy that I was touching on, Obina and Nwobodo, right? He was available this weekend, but he was not selected for the match or on the team sheet. So obviously his fitness and his tactical fit could be a topic of discussion heading into the playoffs, whether or not he's going to be able to play a role starting or on the bench here in the next game. And then Ryan, lastly, Luca Orishano. I mean, he pulled up in this game with a hamstring injury, probably. I don't know. I haven't seen anything out there yet but he came off the pitch late. Like, what did you kind of make of that last one? And then you can touch on the others as well.
Yeah, so with Luka first, it sounds like he had been dealing with some sort of hamstring issue potentially prior to this. They thought like maybe he was fit enough to play. He comes in the 81st minute, so obviously about 10, 15 minutes with extra time. 5 minutes into that, he's making a darting run and pulls up, grabbing his, of all we know, his hamstring. I can't officially say, what it is, but not great. Maybe he felt the tightness and wanted to protect himself and said, I didn't want to, keep going and make the problem worse. That is the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, obviously he feels it and he pulls it even more. And then we're now into bigger issues. So hopefully it's not the latter. Sam, I hate to say this, and someone pointed it out, online. I hope we did not jinx the team, because last episode we said, oh, this team's getting healthy going into the playoffs. We got, Obi back. We got Kubo back. But, yeah, Matt's still out, and maybe Luke is out too. So that's not great. But like you said, I think with potentially having Obi back, that's a good thing. We need depth in the midfield. We do have some depth, in the back line. And of all of this, if everyone, didn't watch the game and they just blindly watch this episode and it's like defensive concerns, we have no creativity, like they'd be like, did we lose? But we ended up winning. We held a clean sheet. So again, it shows that there are guys that can step up. Is it sustainable though? So we'll move into the second one. How worried should we be going into the playoffs about getting 1-goal leads and being able to keep it? And is that kind of, again, sustainable for us to make a push, for the cup, Sam? On a scale of 1 to 10, I want to hear your answer here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with a 7 on this one. I think it's relatively high just because we've talked about it all season. Winning by 1 goal, even last year too, right? We're able to pull these wins out, yes, but it's definitely not sustainable when you're playing against the best of the best and against teams that in the playoffs you have nothing to lose. You're gonna put everything forward and try and win every single game as hard and as good as you can, and that's dangerous, right? Especially when you play these lower seeded teams that, hey, like maybe some of them aren't supposed to be here, right? Or they won a couple games that they weren't supposed to, and now they snuck into the playoffs, and it can get real dangerous. So that's why I'm going with a 7 here. And like you said, the lack of creativity is what really scares me up top. But what is your rank out of 10 there?
I'm going to go with the 6. For me, we found ways to win even with this. This has kind of been our model. We've led the league in 1-goal victories. So it's a concerning trend, but at the same token, this is how Pat has, led his team. So let us know in the comments. Let us know what you guys think. Give us your rating out of 10 on how worried you are about it. Obviously, we're feeling good about a win, but the style and the way that we're winning, is that kind of the issue as we see moving forward. And like Sam said, in some points, like we're giving up all these goals. We haven't had clean sheets. We just need to outscore teams. That's kind of what we thought with the Bengals would be this year.
Score more goals than the other team, Ryan, and that's the American soccer way. Come on,
as easy as that. As easy as that. So if we look into the playoff scenarios here, FC Cincinnati again can clinch that top 3 seed, whether it's 2 or 3, depending on this last match. Again, the Shield has been won, by Philly. Shout out to them. They had an unbelievable season. Nobody was expecting it. For how stacked the East has been, it's kind of incredible. So 5 out of the past 7 years, the Shield has been won by the East. The other 2 years, LAFC. Yeah. So FC Cincinnati is, already at a disadvantage because all the best teams come from this side. It's pretty incredible. So again, shout out to them. But for us to potentially end up 2nd or 3rd, depending on, some other results, it's impressive. And it has to be talked about that even with how bad the underlying metrics have been, we found ways to win. We found results. Maybe we didn't get every single result, but I don't want to say I'm happy with it because I wish we would have had a trophy, but it's, again, an incredible season.
No, yeah, and like you said, we're dependent on those Miami results. Their last 2 games that they still have yet to play. So if they win out, obviously we would be 3rd and would have less of a home field advantage. And obviously this season, home field hasn't been too good for us, but in the playoffs, it has in the past. So hopefully we can continue to kind of work at that with this last match, and hopefully things kind of fall our way. But Ryan, the last storyline heading in, to the playoffs, or at least into this last match, what's this goalkeeper situation going to look like? Because Evan Louro he's putting up a pretty damn good fight.
Sam, all the Evan Louro, people out there that love this guy, I'm with him. I like this guy's attitude in the back line. I like the way that he's leading people. He's been making big saves. But Sam, Roman Celentano is the goalkeeper for FC Cincinnati. I think you got to give him the fact that he's been with this team. He's been through the highs and lows. I think the only thing that would be difficult to look at is his track record for penalty kicks. So if we really want to get into the nitty-gritty for the playoffs, I think Louro historically is a little bit better of a PK stopper. So do we have a little battle on our hands here? That would be a fun storyline. But I think if it's a healthy one, it's good for the team. If it's creating animosity and, some problems back there, obviously we don't want that either. So when Roman's back and healthy, I think he's got to be your go-to guy, but you have Evan there and you can find a way, even with your backup, which again is nice. And we haven't necessarily seen with some of the other Cincinnati teams. So what's your thought though?
Yeah, I think you got to ride with the hot hand, right? Obviously Louro, he hasn't really shown that obviously like what he started 4 or 5 games, right?
4 or 5, yep.
So all the goals I wouldn't really say like were his fault. No. A lot of them were on the defense, being able to not cover the back post or not man marking some guys in the box. So, I mean, not really his fault. And he was able to save a lot of, shots off the line, being able to put stuff over the bar, very athletic goalkeeper. So yeah, I think you got to ride with him as long as you can. And then if the one slip up, right, you can go back to Celentano because you got just as good, if not obviously a better high quality goalkeeper right behind Louro, especially when Celentano is healthy.
Interesting take. We'll see what you guys think as well. We're going to go to our trivia question here, and then we'll take a break and be with you guys on the flip side. But trivia question of the week presented by Goals TV. How many 20-win seasons have FC Cincinnati had? This is for USL and MLS seasons. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll give you guys the answer at the end. But Sam, what are your thoughts?
Okay. All right. I'm thinking, at least 2. I'm thinking at least 2, right? Because we won the regular season in the USL, won the regular season in 2023 in the MLS. So I'm going to go 2. I'm going to go at least 2 seasons.
All right. Sam's locking in 2. You guys will stay tuned, and we'll give you the answer at the very end. Hey everyone, just a quick message from Ryan and Sam here at the Flying Lion Podcast. We wanted to share some exciting news with you. The Flying Lion Podcast has officially partnered with Chatterbox Sports. We are very excited to be a part of the Chatterbox community, as they have proven to give you the very best coverage of Cincinnati sports thus far.
For those who are new to the Flying Lion Podcast, we cover FC Cincinnati news, game recaps, analysis, and unique segments such as our trivia question of the week, jersey swap of the week, card of the week. Give us a listen on our post-match shows on every away game on Chatterbox YouTube and our weekly episodes wherever you get your podcast. Thank you again for your support. Thanks again for tuning in to another episode of our show. Hope you guys have enjoyed it this season. It's been a fun ride. It's always fun when FC Cincinnati's had an awesome season. Again, we're fighting still for a trophy. Hopefully the playoffs will continue to be exciting here. But Sam, it's a winning week. We got our jersey swaps to start off with. Who you got? Yeah, absolutely. Winning week. Love to give the jersey swaps first. And my jersey swap's going to be Hadebe. I think this is one of the best games that Hadebe has played for FC Cincinnati. Not sure he was expected to play all 90, but he goes and does so. He had the most defensive actions in this match with 16. His 6 tackles were 3 more than the next person. So that goes to show the impact that he was having in the match. Hopefully his good form will be able to continue as well. We need that quality as we get into the playoffs.
Sam, I need a stat about how many bicycle kick clearances he had in the match.
So him posting on Twitter, right, and accepting the fact that that's his signature move. I mean, hats off to him, right? He's leaning into it, and I love it. I love the interaction with the fans.
Yeah, no, that was cool. I mean, he had at least 3 in the match, and him and Anunga like both do it, and it's the thing that you look for. It's like, well, it's either one or the other, and if it's the left foot, it's Hadebe, and if it's the right foot, it's Anunga. But yeah, no, I think this is a good shout out. I think sneakily he had a pretty good game. There were some moments where I'm still a little bit worried, and he can be a little bit unpredictable. But yeah, overall, like kept the clean sheet, worked well in the back line for his first start in like 2 months. I mean, pretty impressive. I think there have been a lot of questions prior to this match about like, where's Teenage? Why isn't he playing? Why aren't you, using him and you're putting Alvis Powell in, who's more of a typical right back? And I think Pat was like, look, I've mismanaged it. I think we need to still give him a chance. Whether or not there's still a future for Teenage Hadebe is the question for, moving forward. And do we rely upon him now knowing that? I don't know if that goes into it. It probably doesn't. But again, with Matt being out, we might need to rely upon this guy, and for him to have a good match in this one was crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. I was something that I really wasn't expecting, right? I think we've seen mediocre kind of displays from Hadebe, and that's no fault to his own, right? Like you said, the fluctuation in minutes that has been given it to him, he hasn't really been able to play next to a lot of the same people. That goes for probably almost everybody in the back line, but just wanted to shout him out. I thought he played really well. But Ryan, who was your jersey swap?
I'm going to go with Kévin Denkey. It was a no-brainer for me. 8th game-winning goal of the season for him. Putting the team on his back in this one. Had some other chances. Did have a little bit of a boneheaded moment. But again, like your goal scorer, you're coming in to win matches. And, for him this season, in his first season in the MLS, to have 15 goals, MLS season, 17, all competitions. Couldn't be happier about it. I think even if he stays for another season, we could see that next level of Denkey if we can hold on to the guy. But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I think Ryan. I don't know if did we touch on it in the first half. He was named to team of the match day bench.
Yep.
Obviously, and so he's going to continue to show his quality. Like you said, this man's in form. 2 goals in 2 matches. So hopefully we can make it 3, 4, 5 as we go into the playoffs. And that chemistry with him, Brenner, and Evander needs to just continue to evolve and play with each other, right? Like you said earlier, we're playing hero ball. It's nice to see these hero goals, these solo goals from Denkey. But honestly, it's very, very visually pleasing to see a 1-2, right? Or, just a ball played in and all that stuff. So, yeah, not bad from Denkey in this one.
We'll take it, right? But on the flip side, what was your card of the week, Sam?
Card of the week goes right back to the man. So Denkey tucks his shirt in for the celebration and then gets a yellow card 20 minutes later in the same half. And now he's going to be suspended for the next match at home in front of our fans, fan appreciation night. And he's our second leading scorer. Just not good timing. Him tucking his shirt in so he didn't get the yellow is the funniest thing, right? And then for him to get a yellow just based off of something else is entirely different. It's so funny.
So he gets the yellow, Sam, for kicking the ball away. There was a foul, and he stands in front of it and then kicks the ball back to say like, oh, it's a little bit further back, which it's a little bit of a weak yellow, but it's a yellow if you go by the actual rules of the game are. We haven't had guys, against us been called that.
So we've seen a lot that happen.
It's not been consistent. But yeah, it's a dumb way. And like you said, like let's say the Philly match goes a different direction and we're fighting for the shield and you don't have Kévin Denkey for the last game, like that would be absolutely detrimental to the team. So again, luckily it comes in a moment where like, okay, this game doesn't really mean a ton, moving forward. But yeah, like you saved the, shirt off celebration in this one, but then you get it 20 minutes later, the yellow card. It's like, what are we doing? But that's okay.
Ryan, what's yours?
So, Sam, mine, I think everyone can agree on this one. The announcers for this game were calling the wrong names of the players multiple times throughout this match. Like, it was very clear, at one point, Samuel Giddy's down on the ground, and they're like, Teenage Hidebe is down right now. And you see Hidebe walk by on the screen, and you're just like, did you not just see the guy right there? He's walking. And then later on in the match, they did the same thing again, and they called Powell, I think, Giddy. And I was just like, I just don't know how you get it wrong that many times. You have the screen probably in the press box that you can see. And it's not like, prior seasons, I get it. When the orange kits were there and you had the silver, numbers and lettering, it was very hard to kind of tell, especially if you don't follow the team. But, like, it clearly says what the names are on the jerseys. I just don't understand.
Yeah. And it wasn't like it was corrected right away either. They were talking about Hidebe being down for like 5 minutes. Yeah. And we're talking about how he's a Zimbabwe international. And it's like, this is the wrong guy. You're talking about the wrong guy. And like you said, they even showed him. Like, you see the name, you see the number, and we're going to continue to talk about him like it's him. And it wasn't. So Apple TV is not going to be perfect, right? There's going to be some rotation in the commentators. You're going to get some good weeks. You're going to get some bad weeks. It is what it is.
Yeah, it happens. Early on, we saw some really big blunders with, them announcing people that, weren't even on the bench that were in the starting lineup, different numbers, different scenarios like that. So hopefully they clean up some of it.
Weren't alive.
Yeah, it's just been bad. They're cleaning it up, but the commentary for this one was just a little bit rough. But Sam, we go into a Sunday match. So, us recording now Monday, Sunday, FC Cincinnati 2 had probably, their biggest match of the season. They played Orlando on the road and got a huge result. Came back with 3 points, a big 4-1 victory against Orlando City B. And they clinched the playoffs for the second year in a row. Man, what a turnaround. June, they were in last place in the league, for context. Last place in the league. Now, fast forward, beginning of October, they made the playoffs. It's an unbelievable run for them.
Yeah, and this all started last week, Ryan. So last week, they played Red Bulls. I believe it was Wednesday. Mm-hmm. They played Red Bulls, second team, the number one team in the East in MLS Next Pro, and they have a comeback, 2-0 or 2-1 comeback, right? Led by Ademir Chavez. This kid is unbelievable. Even I believe Laurel Failer said, she kind of suspects he'll be the next FCC2 player to get that first team contract. Got a bright future. What was the club in Portugal?
Benfica. He trained with in Portugal during the All-Star break.
Yeah, so very legit, right? We touched on that, a couple months ago when he did that. But yeah, like Ryan said, clinching this against Orlando City's B team with just a heck of a win, right? A 4-1 win to kind of stamp your place into the MLS Next Pro playoffs as the number 7 seed. What a comeback season-wise, right?
Yeah, a couple of guys that, had been playing first team minutes too were the key part of this, Sam. If you look at it, Dado has this insane run, weaving in and out of defenders, puts a ball, just toying with the defense.
Toying.
And you're just like, eyes emoji, like, man, this guy we could really use on the first team. Oh, wait, he is on the first team.
Did you just say eyes emoji?
Eyes emoji. Yes, exactly. It was just like a wow moment. I don't know if that was a statement for him, just being like, this is what you get for leaving me off, of the first team. But so you get him scoring. You get Shirilla, Stefan Shirilla, with a follow-up goal here. And then Kenji adds 2 more. So all first-team guys that score in this one, that's our future potentially of FC Cincinnati. And they just dominated Orlando in this one in a moment where we really needed it. So obviously last year we ended up winning the East. And this year, at one point, completely at the bottom of the standings, now into the 7th seed for the playoffs. Awesome to see that for them. They just had 9 wins, though, which was 7 fewer than last season, which is crazy.
Squeaking by.
But Shirilla, Sam, leading the team with 9 goals. Again, a guy that I think, at some point is going to get some minutes with this team. He's maybe not all the way to this level yet with the first team, but you can tell the quality is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you just said, the 3 guys that scored, in this playoff clinching game were all first team contract guys, guys that will be the future, which is really cool. And just to touch on why this is such a big deal in the rotation of the squad that we saw from last year into this year for the second team, Ryan, we had 16 returning players and we had 22 new players into the squad. We had 19 players that had left the squad. So this is a whole new batch, right? And obviously, if you had been following the second team all year, it was a process, right? It was not pretty for a while there. But here at the end, being able to cap it off with 3 matches in a row, being able to just squeak into the playoffs, give them a chance to fight for, more season, which is something you want to see in some guys that you wouldn't think. 3 guys, Ryan, I want to shout out here that led the team in minutes. Noah Adnan, who at the start of the season was with the first team, right? He was playing in the Champions Cup for FC Cincinnati's first team. He led the FCC2 in minutes played. And then you've got Andre Shirilla, the younger brother of Stefan Shirilla, being able to be that guy consistently in the back there with Brian Schaefer, who is also a consistent piece. And then lastly, a guy that kind of I think gets overlooked in the midfield there, and that's Peter Mangione. He had 5, I believe he was tied with the team lead in 5 assists. He had 2 goals, just a phenomenal midfielder, kind of an attacking player, came in 3rd in minutes played. So those are kind of some 3 unsung guys that you normally wouldn't hear from.
Yeah, no, impressive shout outs. Again, like, why should we care? Because, again, like Sam mentioned, at least a few of these guys are guys that have had minutes with the first team and likely will moving forward. I think Andre Shirilla has been training. Peter Mangione, I believe, has been training with the first team as well several different times throughout this season. But yeah, they've been the consistency for this team that they've needed. And then you had, Stefan Shirilla with, team high 9 goals, 5 assists for him, under 2,000 minutes. Which again is impressive. And then Brian Schaefer, like you mentioned as well. So those are kind of the top contributors for them. And I believe that Steven Jimenez has been playing a big impact for that team as well. But Sam, as we look to the next pro playoffs, for those who aren't familiar, it's I believe a little bit different. Why don't you walk through everyone the format for this? Kind of a brief, I guess walkthrough if you want.
Yeah, and we'll touch more obviously for playoff previews. The MLS Next Pro playoffs don't start till October 17th, I believe. So we'll touch more on that in the coming episodes, kind of like we will for the MLS playoffs, but kind of how the MLS Next Pro playoffs work, so that way you guys know. Like Ryan said, it's different, and they've kind of changed it year over year. So last year they started this whole pick your opponent type format for the first 2 rounds. So the top seeds will be able to choose their opponents live on a selection show, usually either on Apple TV or on YouTube. I believe that they put their selection show out there. So top 8 teams, right? East and West Coast, single elimination tournament. Unfortunately for FC Cincinnati, last year we got the top seed and we chose our opponent and lost first round, right? So anything can happen when you call out kind of being able to pick out your opponent, which is a little tougher. And then conference quarterfinals, like I said, October 17th through the 20th, and then semifinals October 25th to the 27th, conference finals November 1st to the 3rd, and then you'll have the MLS Next Pro Cup November 8th through the 10th. So we've got a lot of important dates coming up, and we'll touch on kind of preview of matches who FC Cincinnati 2 is going to play here in the coming weeks, but just so you kind of know.
Yeah, thanks for the deep dive there. And for everyone to know, like, kind of timeline-wise on, hey, when does this team play? When can we go out and support? Because, again, like, these guys play at NKU. Their seed isn't favorable, so I don't know if they'll get a home match, to start. But hopefully if they win, then there is that potential. But, Sam, as we move along, we had some announcements for the MLS Players Association had put out their free agency lists post 2025. So this is a little bit premature, but it's relevant. So
want to keep you guys aware.
We want to keep you guys kind of aware on where this is headed. So we had 9 players on the list for FC Cincinnati, 8 of which have pending options. Miazga, Anunga, Kubo, Hadebe, Powell, Smith, Kamara, Khan, and Louro. Pretty, noticeable names on that list here. We had a lot of comments. We had put this out earlier in the week, what people thought. I think there were some trends there we could kind of get into, and then we'll break it down into the must-haves. We think they're an option, or the no thanks. And this is kind of like a little bit harsh, but I think this is as it stands right now. Again, is this a little bit premature before the season even ends? Technically, maybe. But it's kind of fun to throw out theoreticals for already next year in some ways. So.
Yeah, so we'll start off with Miazga. I think based off the comments, right? If you go look at our post that we Ryan was mentioning, everybody was saying Miazga is a must. He must be first priority, regardless of kind of the injury history that we've seen. We see what our club looks like with and without him on our roster, or at least on the squad itself. So need to have him. So I feel like must have, right, across the board for us. Anunga, though, Ryan, where are we standing with Anunga right now? How he's getting paid, right? He's a steal. And we talked about that at the beginning of the season. Very favorable contract. Based off of this season, though, he's had he kind of knows how special he is as far as rotation. Obi was out. He came up clutch. He might be asking for a little bit more.
Yeah, I think what's tough is a lot of people see his recent outings and they think a little bit unfavorably, which is, again, unfair to Anunga, because I think at times he's been forced to play maybe more minutes than he was even expecting. And your mindset's got to be right. You got to be able to come in and be the next man up. And shout out to him, because I think he's done favorable, for that. But like Sam mentioned, he's in a supplemental spot. We're paying this guy the bare minimum, and he's started – I don't even know off the top of my head. It's got to be, in close to 15 matches now, maybe even more. That's a steal. You want that sort of veteran guy that you can bring in off the bench. Yes, I agree. Like, if he wants more money, it's probably not a great idea. And is he that guy to be that starter? No, he's not. But he's been that perfect guy to hopefully, again, at the end of the season, see out matches. That was the original plan. Have Obi in there, have Buka, get the lead, put Anunga in to just go and destroy, so I think there's still a plan for that, and I still think he's got a future. Sam Kubo, on the other hand, unfortunately, I think we can agree. I think his time might be run for FC Cincinnati.
This guy has the most minutes played in FC Cincinnati's history. He's played the most matches in FC Cincinnati history. He is our first DP ever, right? So seeing a guy like that kind of walk out the door is going to be very tough for a lot of people. He was given a special kit, the first in the MLS to have the Japanese, on his jersey instead, as his last name. Very cool, very, well done. It's going to hurt, but it's time, right? He's barely been on the pitch this year. And it's just not. Yeah, it is. Our Japanese, army knife, right? Like we like to say.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is a no thanks, unfortunately, just because you can't keep the guy on what he is, with the quality of that he's bringing. But next guy, Hadebe, already rumors, Ryan, that we've seen the past probably a couple weeks right now at this point, that he's already signed a contract to go elsewhere. Can't remember where that is, though.
Turkey. He's rumored to be signing, I believe, in Turkey for about $2.5 million, which means that we would have had to pick up his option for next year, and then immediately traded this guy out to Turkey. Which, I mean, if that's a move for us and it benefits, the squad, might be a thing. I'm still a little bit up in the air. I think, we obviously need better center back depth. He's provided decent depth there. He's just not the most consistent piece, if we're being honest. So can somebody like Andre Shirilla come in and find some minutes instead that we can pay less? I think that's a big turning point in this roster, in one that if you keep Evander, you keep Denkey, you keep all these big pieces, you have to potentially add Brenner. You got to make room, and he might be a cap, space spot that we would need potentially. But the next one is Alvis Powell, and I think across the board, a lot of people have been pretty happy about him overall. I feel like he's stepped up in meaningful ways. He's been a spot starter in some ways as well. We always love Alvis. We love the energy he brings. He's definitely the wild card, in some aspects as well. But
yeah, friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod, yeah.
So
love Alvis.
yeah, I think Alvis falls under the they're an option, right? He will always be there. He will always give you quality minutes, depending on the match. However, he's going to scare the hell out of you at times. But he may create those chances, right? Like we've seen this year, being able to run into the box and, put a ball either on goal or in front of the 18 for Denkey, Evander, somebody to kind of get a boot on. But I think we'll keep him as an option for this one. Brad Smith, he came in as a free, Ryan. I don't really see a future here for FC Cincinnati. He hasn't really played too much. Or Shano, Ender, even Engel, right, have kind of played more than he has. We found a nice rotation with those three.
He's been hurt. He's I believe, dealing with was it a quad injury potentially?
They're all leg injuries, Ryan.
Yeah, so his is kind of an interesting spot. I think again, if you can go young in that position, I think that's maybe the way to go. Kamara, another one. If you can go young, we have so many potential strikers that we could sign. That Brenner's on loan, Jabari's on loan. Again, we'll get to kind of the specifics towards the end of the season. Khan, I think it's time to let Alec Khan go. I've said that earlier on as well. No offense to the guy, but he's a roster spot, at this point. And Louro is a must keep. Like, I think everyone can agree on that. He's definitely won that spot. He's even arguing now, fighting for that starter role even in some ways, if you want to look at that. But yeah, we just wanted to give you a little sneak peek on what that looks like. Obviously, we'll do a deeper dive, after the end of the MLS Cup when we win. So we'll cover it then. But yeah, I'm interested and intrigued by what that looks like, but not yet. Not so fast, my friends, as somebody else once said. We have the playoffs to come. But before that, because the MLS is wacky, we do have the international window. A couple weeks ago, if you guys remember, I shouted out my card of the week was the fact that we have an international window that is going to take place before this last match. And then we have the playoffs, and then we have another international break. Again, I hate this. It's wacky. It is what it is, I guess. But SC Cincinnati, Sam, pretty cool to see 7 different players called up to their national teams. For several guys, in moments where World Cup qualifiers don't even matter. Their teams are out of the qualifying. They're still going to go represent their country, which is cool to see, but is also scary to see because we need healthy players.
No, I know. I think Chris was talking about it, right, during his press conference last week and was touching on the fact that, like, hey, we are proud of our players, right? We want to continue to be a club that is pro player, right? If you want to go represent your country, we support it 100%. Just be safe, like, while you're playing or while you're getting back, right? But Ryan, this is amazing. Seven players. I believe last window, or at least 2 windows ago, we had 6, right? Which, I mean, we got to talk to our guy Patrick O'Leary to see if this is a worthy stat of, hey, I think this is the most that we've ever had in a single window. So we'll go straight off with Hadebe. He'll be representing Zimbabwe. Like Ryan said, World Cup qualifiers. His team is out of the chance to even make it to the World Cup, but still going. So he's going to be playing South Africa and Lesotho. And then you get Ender Echenike. Did I say that wrong?
No, you nailed it. I was proud of you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Then you get Ender Echenike. Ryan, this is the one that kind of stood out to all of us as far as, the one out of the 7. This is Echenike's first senior team call-up for the Venezuelan national team. Very impressive from him. Obviously, we've seen him kind of solidify himself as our right wing back or as our right back. He will play against Argentina October 10th, and then they'll play Belize. Prior to this call-up, though, Ryan, he actually represented Venezuela at the youth level for the U20 and U23 teams.
It's pretty special. I think Ender could be a special player. He's still young. He's still finding his footing in some ways in the MLS, but man, has this guy, figuratively and literally shot out of a cannon. I'm excited for him in this moment, especially playing Argentina. That's a big moment. Maybe he gets some minutes there. Maybe he's not ready to quite start, but very proud of Ender. It again shows that this club has highlighted players and being able to play at a big level, down in Venezuela, obviously closer to the senior team, first team. Maybe he was on the radar, but he comes to MLS, has shown, what he can do, gets a goal recently as well. And that's, I think, boosted his chances. But another guy that's boosted his chances too, Sam, Miles Robinson. I feel like last few games has proved in some regards his DP status, if you want to keep going back to that and look if, hey, is that, worth it or not? But Miles makes what we are now going to consider possibly the A squad moving forward. I think Pochettino has said this camp on is going to be my World Cup guys, and then we're going to have to narrow it down. So for the U.S., we do play Ecuador on the 10th and then Australia on the 14th. So Sam, Miles Robinson, is he going to get a nod there for the starting role? I don't quite think he's going to probably start. I think, from what we've seen, I should say, Tim Ream has been Poch's guy and Chris Richards, but they recently are, I think, considering switching to a 3-back system. So does that open up a spot for Miles, in that right center back role? I don't know.
Yeah, I would hope so. Last window we saw Roman Celentano not get a shot at all. So it would be nice to see Miles kind of get an opportunity, especially if we're going to call these guys up. Let's at least see, what we're working with. And Tim Ream, his quality is good, but he's not going to be that type of quality forever. And we don't really know what it's going to look like into the World Cup, right? Like, sure. He's a little bit on the older side, and we've seen how fast Miles is and how he can track back. So, I hope he gets a shot for the U.S. men's national team. But moving on to Kévin Denkey, Ryan gets called up for Togo as well. He will be playing the Congo on October 10th, and then South Sudan. And then you see Kai Kamara get another call up for Sierra Leone. He will be playing Burkina Faso and Djibouti on 12th.
Nice. Yeah, no, another good highlight for these guys. And then some younger guys, Sam. Stefan Chirilla with Romania's U19 and Samuel Giddy with Slovakia's U21 team as well. Cool to see young guys get, the calls up, as well. I think eventually these two are going to get looks for their senior team, their first teams. And we're only like a couple years away, I think, from that. Giddy especially. I mean, we didn't really highlight him, against Red Bulls, but man, again, what an impressive performance for the
third start in a row.
I'm very high on this young player, and I think we should all be very excited about what he can look like moving forward. And I don't feel like we need to rush Obi back into it by any means. He's been very composed in his time, and whether or not that's a product of Buka helping them out too, I'm sure that has played into it. But shout out to Giddy. For this last match, we'll move on to it, Sam. Match day 34. It's the last home match, of the regular season, but last match day for the regular season as well. Fan Appreciation Day at TQL. Montreal stinks, Sam. They're in 13th in the East. They are not good. We won a previous matchup against them 3-1 in June. That tells you how bad this team is. We won by 2 goals. But I'm excited, but at the same token, Sam, do you feel like this game is kind of like a, hey, let's just kind of get through it, or do you go full, pedal down? What are your thoughts on this? How do you approach it if you're Pat Noonan?
I mean, obviously, all podcasts we've talked about wanting to get the energy for the playoffs and getting our best foot forward. But at the same time, what are you playing for regular season wise, right? We want our main guys to be healthy. So maybe it's you see a full force for the first half, right? And then you see those subs come in the second half to be able to give them some minutes, give the legs on the bench some time to figure out the chemistry wise for that.
Yeah, no, that's a good shout. Do you solidify your back line if Miazga is not going to be there? I think, if anything, you're going to see those guys play maybe a little bit more sustained minutes. Obviously, we failed to mention, like, this is going to be a full, week and a half away now. So these guys have a little bit more time to regain fitness, maybe if they took some knocks in this Red Bulls match as well. So does that affect things? Potentially, I think. But if you were asking me, I know you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you anyway. It's got to be Miles, it's got to be Hagelin, and it's got to be Angle in the middle.
So do you put Miles on that right center back spot, put Hagelin in the middle?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the right call. But the question would be then, if Orishano can't go, Sam, who do we put out there for this match? We could maybe get away with trying something out and seeing if like Dom works on the left side and Enders on the right. I think that's probably what you'll see. But I don't know. We can maybe get into it a week from now once we see how guys get through this week. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So lineup wise, do you think since Denkey is suspended for this one, do you think up top we see, maybe Brenner by himself? Do you think we see maybe Jabari gets a start up top with Brenner? I think that would be probably the best case scenario there, to put Jabari up top with him.
I think so.
And then Obi on the bench to start. What are your thoughts on those two?
Yeah, what's tough, Sam, is like a lot of these guys again are playing international minutes between this match. So it really all depends on how they come out of it. And the luxury we have is like we're in a spot where we are guaranteed either second or third, really in the East. We, I think, completely have failed to mention this whole episode. I'm pretty sure we clinched a Champions Cup spot too. So CONCACAF Champions Cup, I'm pretty sure we clinched that spot for next year too. So like, are we playing for something, in this match? It has to go into that as well. So it depends on how these guys come out of international break. I think that's part of it. And then hopefully, having Obi another full week of training, I think you might see him at least play a half. I think whether it's to start or whether it's to finish, Obi's going 45. Yeah, I think Jabari is pretty locked in there, and I would say Brenner because he's not playing internationally. Denkey is obviously, out. Do you play Evander, Sam? I think as a gamer, Evander is going to want to play.
Oh, absolutely. Well, especially as a guy who's tied right now for the most goals, in a season, right, for FC Cincinnati history with 21,
True.
Right? Am I correct?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So as a gamer, let's get that done in the regular season so that way you can say, hey, I didn't need any additional games.
Yeah. True. No, that's a good shout. We're going to hold off our predictions. I'm going to call an audible here because we'll come to you guys next week after we've had a little bit more solidified on what maybe the lineup and everything could look like. But again, excited about it, having one last final home game before the playoffs to kind of write, some things out, maybe get that dominant win going into the playoffs though, Sam. That would be nice for the boys and to kind of solidify the fact that, hey, we are this team that we are, even though the underlying numbers may not say it all the way. But yeah, so Sam, I'll roll into our question and answer here for our trivia. So if we go back to our question, how many 20-win seasons have FC Cincinnati had, both USL and through the MLS season? Sam locked in 2, and he was correct. He nailed it. So 2018 USL regular season champs, 2023 regular season champs. So 2 times. Right now we're sitting at 19 wins. Sam, are we going to get that 20th win and make it 3 seasons? That's a pretty big accomplishment.
Yeah, obviously when you win, even double digit, right? It's something. But in this case, Cincinnati reaching 20 plus wins would be awesome. I think 3 seasons in our history. Obviously, it gives you a little bit of a taste, right, of what it was in 2023. Not quite, because we didn't win Supporters Shield, but better than last season, right?
Yeah.
It's a growth. We've come back from a lot of our injuries this season, a lot better than we did last season. So it's definitely a good look if we can cap this season off, on the right foot.
Yeah, now it's all guns blazed ahead. Like Cup is solidified like the goal. So I think next episode, if we want to give you a little sneak peek, we'll really touch about what are the keys for, the playoffs and the rest of this season. The team's going to narrow their focus down. I really think to how can we best put ourselves in a position, to win MLS Cup in a win or go home scenario. So we'll get into that next time, but thanks again for joining us. Go check out again all of our content, whether it's on X or Twitter, whether it's on YouTube. We got our reels coming out to you guys on Instagram and on TikTok, and go find these live episodes, again on YouTube or on Spotify, Apple Podcasts for the full length if you want to go back and look at them again. But thanks again for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time.